Like in USA, government shutdown continues.
The government shutdown now slated to enter a fifth week after the Senate left Washington for a long weekend without any deal to end the stalemate. No end in sight to the ongoing government shutdown, as millions of Americans could soon be left without their critical food assistance benefits. Dozens of states announcing that SNAP funding could run dry as soon as November 1st, leaving congressional Democrats with a difficult choice. Keep up the fight for expanded Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are slated to expire at the end of the year and could cause millions of Americans to lose their health insurance, or vote with Republicans to reopen the government, ensuring millions keep their food assistance benefits. Already, some indications on Capitol Hill, the incoming SNAP cliff may cause Democrats to change their tune.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Huffington Post senior journalist SV Date that his mom had fixed the venue of Trump-Putin meet. What arrogance! A fiery exchange erupted after White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt mocked a Huffington Post reporter, replying, "Your mom did," when asked who chose the Trump-Putin summit venue. Calling him a left-wing hack, Leavitt posted their texts online, sparking outrage. The summit, likely in Budapest within 2 weeks, will focus on ending the Ukraine war. No plans for immediate Trump-Putin meeting, says White House. White House also states that there is no plans for U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to meet in person.
Today we learned there are no plans for President Trump to meet with Vladimir Putin. President Trump spoke with Putin last week and called it very productive. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that Russia's Minister of Foreign Affairs had a separate call on next steps in Ukraine, though Kremlin officials say any in-person meeting will take serious preparation.
Treasury sanctions major Russian oil companies, calls on Moscow to immediately agree to ceasefire.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he's slapped, quote, tremendous sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. The measures come a day after a planned Trump-Putin summit in Budapest was called off, with Washington expressing disappointment at a lack of progress in ceasefire negotiations with Moscow. Russia's oil industry has been a key source of revenue from Moscow and is seen as one of the primary income sources funding Russia's war in Ukraine. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office that he believes Vladimir Putin does want an end to the war. He said he hopes the sanctions on Russian oil will be temporary.
Today is a very big day in terms of what we're doing. Look, these are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies. And we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled.
Impact of Trump sanctions. Reliance, India's biggest importer of Russian oil, buys millions of barrels of crude from Middle East, U.S.
Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Sharon. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think this sanctioning these two Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned two other oil companies. So how much economic pressure is this really?
A lot. If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure, and we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide.
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly. Russia declares US an enemy, says oil sanctions amount to act of war as tensions boil over.
You know, it didn't start with a big treaty signing or some complex policy paper. Nope. It started with just two words: our adversary. It's a stark, very public declaration that just fundamentally changes the rules of the game between two global superpowers. So, who said it, and what was the final straw? And there it is. On October 18th, Dmitry Medvedev, who's a really key figure in Russia's Security Council, dropped this bombshell on social media. Now, this isn't just some heated rhetoric. It's a very calculated statement that signals a fundamental break in relations. But this didn't just come out of nowhere. Let's take a quick look at the timeline to see just how fast things escalated. As you can see, this didn't happen in a vacuum. The tension ramped up, and it ramped up quickly. It started with an ultimatum from President Trump over Ukraine. Then the U.S. doubled down, hitting two of Russia's economic heavyweights, the oil giants Rosneft and Lukoil, with brand new sanctions. Medvedev's declaration was the direct comeback, not just calling the U.S. an adversary, but also slamming the door on any off-ramps, demanding full capitulation instead of some kind of mutual victory.
Trump. War and peace. Tariffs and threats. He goes on. And on. And on. Trump hesitates to supply weapons to Zelensky, pushes for Ukraine ceasefire without escalation. U.S. President Donald Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House, a day after he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The meeting came amid renewed efforts to end the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky fails to secure Tomahawk missiles at talks with Trump. Trump suggests carving up Ukraine's Donbass region to end war. After meeting with Zelensky, Trump made the comments after a tense meeting with Zelensky, in which the Ukraine leader failed to secure supplies of Tomahawk missiles.
This afternoon, a former stand-up comedian was tasked with humouring America's president into supplying more weapons of war. This is Volodymyr Zelensky's third visit here this year. Amid this difference of opinion, the Ukrainian believes that providing Tomahawk missiles now will force the Russians to negotiate.
President Trump said, "Do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine?"
While Donald Trump apparently still hopes that the threat of providing them will do the job instead. The Tomahawk is usually fired from ships or submarines. Each one costs $2.5 million. That's a lot cheaper than maintaining a fighter jet, and it has a range of over 1,000 miles. The Ukrainians are more keen on these land-based launchers, which went into service last year. But Mr. Trump, having said he was thinking about it, is now claiming America's own stockpile can't be depleted.
Sanglikars Weekly, the ink never dries. Sanglikars Weekly, it's all here for you.
Trump explodes at Zelensky in a fiery showdown. Trump tells Zelensky, "Surrender Donetsk. Stop at the present battle lines. Stop killing people. Go home. And be done."
And Trump has issued a dire warning to Zelensky: accept the deal, accept the front lines as borders, and end the war, or else face destruction at the hands of Putin. The US president says Ukraine can not win this war, and this next story packs the unfolding saga which would decide the future of Ukraine.
it was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting, but it turned into a shouting match. During a tense encounter at the White House, US President Donald Trump reportedly erupted at Ukraine counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, warning him to make the deal with Vladimir Putin or be destroyed. The scenes were similar to this tense encounter at the Oval Office back in February, in which Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berated Zelensky. According to multiple European officials cited by the Financial Times, Trump pressured Ukraine to accept Russia's terms, surrendering large parts of the Donetsk region to Moscow. Donald Trump denied the conversation, saying he never asked Zelensky to cede Donbas. But again, he asserted that the region should stay divided as it is.
No, we never discussed it. We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. The rest is very tough to negotiate. If you're going to say, you take this, we take that, there's so many different permutations. So what I say is they should stop right now at the battle lines. Go home, stop killing people, and be done.
Days after the Gaza peace plan, Trump tells Hamas, "Behave, be good, or you will be eradicated."
We want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas. And as you know, they've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. Some rebels within. But either way, it's going to be handled properly. It's going to be handled toughly, but properly.
Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
President Trump has insisted the ceasefire in Gaza is still in place, despite a weekend of violence which saw Israel and Hamas accuse each other of breaching the deal. Well, health officials in the territory say that Israeli airstrikes have killed more than 40 people. Israel says the strikes were in response to attacks on its troops. International journalists, including the BBC, are banned from reporting from Gaza.
9 days of quiet, then this. Gaza's ceasefire hung by a thread as Israel struck targets across the south and center of the Strip. In response, it said, to attacks by Hamas on its troops.
They'll be eradicated, and they know that. We have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly. Donald Trump warns China of 155% tariffs unless it agrees to a fair trade deal. Donald Trump has warned China of steep 155% tariffs unless it agrees to a fair trade deal, even as he confirmed plans to meet Xi Jinping soon to resolve disputes.
China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November 1st unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what we can do. And that's the power of tariff. And I think that China will come to the table and make a very fair deal, because if they don't, they're going to be paying us 157% in tariffs. Right now, they're paying 55 to 57%. When I was first president and first term, we had the greatest economy we've ever had. And as you know, people don't write too much about it, but China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars worth of money for tariffs. China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November 1st unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what we can do. If they don't do business with us, I think China's in big trouble. I'll be honest with you. I think China is, I don't know that they even make it. I really do. I believe that they're in big trouble. And I don't want them to be in big trouble. I want them to do great. I want them to thrive. but we have to thrive together. It's a two-way street. I think when we finish our meetings, and it's going to be a big deal. Look, I'm meeting with a lot of other countries, but this seems to be the one that people are very interested in. I think when we finish our meetings in South Korea, China, and I will have a really fair and really great trade deal together.
Sanglikar's Weekly.
And more US news. Like, Trump slammed dirty Canada over Reagan ad, though withdrawn.
Overnight, trade talks with Canada are now on ice. President Trump announced he's canceling negotiations with one of America's biggest allies over a Canadian TV ad opposing U.S. tariffs. It features an address by former President Ronald Reagan. The escalation as the president hopes to cool trade tensions further east.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports.
An ad from Ontario featuring parts of an address by former U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Has apparently caught the ire of President Donald Trump. In a social media post overnight, Trump called the ad fake, declaring all trade negotiations are hereby terminated, citing a response from the Reagan Foundation claiming the video misrepresents Reagan's words. It's the latest escalation in a rift with Canada amid Trump's trade strategy imposing new tariffs and import limits. Canadian backlash helped clinch an election win for Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Australia and rare earth deal. Australia is positioning itself as a critical minerals supplier to the West, aiming to reduce reliance on China's processing dominance. Prime Minister Albanese's meeting with President Trump highlights efforts to secure supply chains for essential elements, as China tightens export controls on rare earths. 70% of rare earths are mined in China, and 90% are processed there. This concentration gives Beijing unprecedented leverage over global supply chains. Australia, home to some of the world's richest deposits of rare earths, sees an opening. With China's rare earth restrictions in place, Canberra believes it can be the West's solution to a growing supply chain vulnerability. Ahead of the Washington meeting, Australia's ambassador, Kevin Rudd, delivered a clear message to US policymakers. Australia equals the periodic table, he said. Having it is one thing, knowing how to mine it, as mining is a high-tech business, is another, and we have the world's biggest and best miners.
We are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we work together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2.
Today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us. To take our relationship to that next level, and it's been fantastic, the contact that we've had together, the friendship that we've developed, and Australians love America, and I think Americans kind of like Australia too.
We do.
And as we go forward, I think that today will be seen as a really significant day in our relationship. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Bulldozer in White House.
You know, we're building right behind us, we're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years. This room holds 88 people, and the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have, we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country.
No Kings protests against Trump across U.S. Massive No Kings protests sweep U.S. cities. Trump responds with Crown clip. While Donald Trump insisted that he is not a king, he posted a series of AI-generated videos depicting himself as one. U.S. President Donald Trump responded to the massive No Kings protests by posting a series of AI-generated videos on his Truth social platform, in which he appears as a king. In one clip, he is wearing a crown and flying a fighter jet that drops what appears to be feces on anti-Trump protesters, with Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone playing in the background. On Instagram, Team Trump trolled the No Kings protests by sharing another AI-generated video showing President Trump dressed like a king, standing in front of the White House, set to the music of Andrea Bocelli.
200 years and change gone by. We told old George no crown goodbye. Now here comes Don with his powdered pout. Make me king, he whines and shouts. He wants our loyalty blind and loud. A throne of merch, a mopped up crowd. But liberty's ghost is wide awake and ready to dump his tea in the lake.
No kings again, we fought that war. We kicked one tyrant out the door. No Orange George with delusions grand. No royal tweets to rule the land.
No crown, no cape, no petty fief. We signed that breakup, read the brief. No kings again, we've learned this song. The people rule and we're strong.
Bulldozer in White House.
You know, we're building right behind us, we're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years. This room holds 88 people, and the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country.
Trump and Time magazine.
The latest cover of Time magazine has sparked a storm of criticism from none other than U.S. President Donald Trump. U.S. President Donald Trump has lashed out at Time magazine after it published his photograph on the cover of its latest issue. A picture he says makes his hair disappear. The photo, part of a cover story titled His Triumph, was meant to capture Trump's latest string of global achievements. But the president wasn't pleased. Taking to Truth Social, Trump slammed the magazine's choice of image, calling it a super bad picture and even the worst photo of all time. He wrote, "They disappeared my hair, and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird." He went on to explain that he has never liked photographs taken from low angles, adding that the Time picture deserved to be called out. What are they doing and why? Trump questioned, taking a direct jab at the magazine's editorial choices. This isn't the first time Trump has publicly criticized Time magazine. Back in February, he mocked another cover that showed then Department of Government Efficiency Chief Elon Musk sitting at the Oval Office's Resolute desk, a symbolic image of power. Trump quipped at the time, "Is Time magazine still in business? I didn't even know that." Ironically, the latest Time cover, titled His Triumph, comes at a moment when Trump is being credited for achieving one of his most significant diplomatic breakthroughs, a ceasefire and hostage exchange deal in Gaza. The deal brought a halt to Israel-Hamas hostilities that had raged since October 7, 2023.
Sanglikars Weekly.
Trump, third best president to U.S.
Yeah, somebody went up there, they say, "You're the third best president in the United..." This was on television, third best. And they said, "Who are the first two?" George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I got extremely angry at this man. You know, you can't. It's going to be tough to beat, Mr. Senator. It's going to be, John. It's going to be very tough to beat Washington and Lincoln, but we're going to give it a try, right? Hey, they didn't put out 8 wars, 9 coming, all right? We put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming, believe it or not.
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly. Like, in a blow to London's Mayor Sadiq Khan, UK has decided re-examine 9,000 cases of Pakistani grooming gangs in UK.
He would rape me once a week, every week. And then that's when he started to gain control over me.
That's from 2014. This survivor was one of the 1,400 victims of the UK's grooming gangs who was sexually exploited as a child. In January 2025, Elon Musk reopened the scandal surrounding gangs of men who groomed, assaulted and raped girls across England, calling Keir Starmer, UK's Prime Minister, complicit in the rape of Britain.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims, they're interested in themselves.
Let's look at what exactly the controversy is. In 2011, the Times of London published investigative articles about the sexual exploitation of girls by criminal gangs in northern England and the Midlands. The abuse reportedly spanned from 1997 onwards. An independent report by Professor Alexis J in 2014, which investigated abuse in Rotherham, found that 1,400 children, some as young as 11, were targeted between 1997 and 2013. Now, what are these grooming gangs? The grooming often followed a pattern. Young men approached girls in public places like town centers, gained their trust through gifts or attention, and introduced alcohol or drugs. This was followed by exploitation, where the victim was coerced into sexual acts with multiple individuals. These gangs often operated in areas with high numbers of vulnerable children, such as those in foster care or disadvantaged backgrounds. The abuse cases were particularly sensitive because of the racial dynamics. Victims were often white, while some perpetrators belonged to the ethnic minority groups. For example, prosecutions in towns like Rochdale and Oldham in 2012 involved men of South Asian heritage, primarily of Pakistani origin.
I reopened cases that had been closed and supposedly finished. I brought the first major prosecution of an Asian grooming gang.
When Starmer, reacting to the Musk-propelled controversy in 2025, referred to the perpetrators as Asian, many Indian diaspora groups objected. In official UK statistics, Asian refers to people of Asian descent living in the UK, including ethnicities from South Asia like Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and East Asia like Chinese. But Starmer's use of the broad term misrepresented specific ethnicities involved, these groups said. The 2014 J report had noted that a significant proportion of the known perpetrators in Rotherham were of Pakistani heritage. Local authorities and law enforcement have faced criticism for failing to act on abuse cases, either by disbelieving victims or blaming them. Some victims were dismissed as willing participants because they were groomed with gifts and attention. Inquiries have also examined claims that fear of being labelled racist hindered investigations in cases involving ethnic minority perpetrators.
If all of the authorities involved, officers and members, had been less concerned with their own agendas and prejudices and kept their focus on the children's welfare, some of these children might not have suffered.
What was Starmer's role in all of this? Keir Starmer led the Crown Prosecution Service from 2008 to 2013 during the period when many of these cases surfaced. Critics have questioned whether the CPS did enough to address these crimes under his leadership. Starmer has defended his record, stating that during his tenure, the CPS significantly increased prosecutions in child sexual abuse cases. Meanwhile, many also accused Musk of exploiting a sensitive issue for sensationalism, disregarding years of investigation, prosecutions, and inquiries into grooming gangs. But the Post nevertheless cast the spotlight back onto a painful child sexual exploitation scandal. While the debates rage on, Professor Alexis J, who led a 7-year probe into the grooming scandal, had a clear message. It's time for less talk and more action.
Pope Leo XIV appalled. Orders purification ceremony. Pope Leo XIV is said to have been appalled after a man urinated on the high altar at St. Peter's Basilica. Pontiff orders purification rites to be carried out after incident at one of Christianity's holiest sites. The American pontiff ordered purification rites to be carried out inside one of Christianity's holiest sites following the incident. The man, whose identity and nationality have not been disclosed, was caught urinating on the altar of confession, which is located above the tomb of St. Peter, the first pope, and one of Christianity's most revered saints. The Pope had ordered a purification ceremony to be carried out urgently. Prayers and psalms were read out, and holy water was sprinkled on the altar, which is located beneath a vast bronze canopy known as the baldacchino, sculpted in the 17th century. Energy protests in UK.
In 2024, Starmer promised stability after years of chaos. He said Labour would rebuild trust, put working people first and handle the cost of living crisis with courage and compassion. Those were his exact words. Campaign posters plastered across Britain showed him in shirt sleeves, listening to ordinary people in kitchens and community centres. The message was clear. He was different. He understood. But here's what actually happened. Energy bills soared 54% in 2 years. Over 2 million households fell into fuel poverty. That's not opinion, that's Ofgem data. Meanwhile, £30 billion in green subsidies went to offshore corporations, many foreign-owned, while British families rationed heat. The disconnect became impossible to ignore. While ministers preached sacrifice, their own expenses showed heated second homes and chauffeur-driven cars idling outside Parliament. When questioned in Parliament last month, Starmer called these concerns short-term thinking and insisted net zero targets were non-negotiable. That phrase, non-negotiable, landed like a slap to millions who didn't negotiate away their heating either. They just lost it. The clip went viral within hours, not because of what he said, but how he said it. Dismissive. Practiced. Like he was reading from a script written by someone who'd never worried about the cost of keeping their children warm. Look at who's out there tonight, not extremists. Nurses from the NHS still in their scrubs after 12-hour shifts, holding signs that read, "I save lives but can't afford to heat my home." Teachers who've watched kids come to school in winter coats because their parents can't afford both breakfast and heating.
Like in South American Peru, Pres Jose Jerry has declared emergency to deal with surging violence. Don't travel to Peru.
Peru's president has declared a 30-day state of emergency in the capital Lima, aimed at curbing rising crime. Jose Jerry made the announcement in a televised address. It follows protests last week that left one person dead and more than 100 injured. A wave of demonstrations against corruption and crime led to the ousting of Jerry's predecessor, Dina Boluarte, last month.
Compatriotas. Fellow citizens, crime has grown excessively in recent years, causing enormous pain to thousands of families and also harming the country's progress. But this is over. Today we begin to change history in the fight against insecurity in Peru.
Sanae Takaichi named Japan's first female prime minister.
We start in Japan, where the parliament has elected the country's first female prime minister. Sanae Takaichi took over as head of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party after the LDP lost its majority in the July election. The party is now teaming up with the smaller right-wing Japan Innovation Party to form a minority government. Takaichi is seen as a hardline conservative who supports traditional gender roles as well as a hawkish foreign policy.
Modi to attend ASEAN through virtual meet. Malaysia's Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim on Thursday confirmed that his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi would not be travelling to Kuala Lumpur for the 47th ASEAN Summit, but will attend it virtually. Modi informed me that he will attend virtually due to the ongoing Deepavali celebrations in India. At that time, Anwar Ibrahim said on social media. PM Narendra Modi wrote on X. Had a warm conversation with my dear friend, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim of Malaysia. Congratulated him on Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship and conveyed best wishes for the success of upcoming summits. Look forward to joining the ASEAN-India summit virtually and to further deepening of the ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. Cargo plane in sea after skidding off Hong Kong runway, killing 2.
2 Hong Kong airport security workers died after a Boeing 747 cargo plane skidded off the runway, hit their patrol car, and pushed it into the sea. That is according to the city's airport operator on Monday. The crash happened around 3:50 a.m. local time. The airport security staff were not breathing when rescued from the water. One was declared dead at the scene, and the other died later in hospital, according to Stephen Yu, the airport's executive director of operations. He added that authorities are investigating the cause, looking at weather, runway conditions, the aircraft, and the crew. Yu also said flights at Hong Kong's airport have not been affected. Emirates, the Dubai-based airline, said the crash at the world's busiest cargo airport involved an ACT Airlines plane operating on its behalf. There was no cargo on board. All 4 crew members of the plane escaped safely. This was Hong Kong's deadliest airport accident since the 1999 China Airlines crash that killed 3 people. Boeing did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
Scientists have spotted a skyscraper-sized asteroid racing through solar system. Interesting.
An asteroid the size of a skyscraper is barreling toward Earth at a spry 24,136 miles per hour. The space rock dubbed 2025 FA22 is a sizable 520 feet across. On a cosmic scale, it will come close to Earth, getting to within just 523,000 miles of our home. For context, the present distance between Earth and the Moon is around 239,000 miles. Asteroids are rocky remnants from the early formations of the solar system, 4.6 billion years ago, that can be found orbiting the Sun. They can vary massively in size. One of the largest, known as Vesta, is around a whopping 329 miles in diameter.
And finally, GST reduction is deep-rooted now. When asked how many letters are in alphabet, a child replied, 26. Including G, S, T. Lazy B. The 25th of October, 2025.